My name is Lucian Trent. At my sister's wedding, her new father-in-law looked right past me like I didn't even exist. He walked by without a nod, not even a glance. Just that cold, practiced way some men have of making others feel invisible. I stood there in my tailored suit, drink in hand, knowing something he didn't. Roland Row, so proud of his last name he probably signs it with gold ink, had spent 6 months trying to buy a tech company. What he didn't know was that I co-founded it. His own business relied on software I helped build from scratch, while I raised my sister out of the wreckage of our broken life. But Roland only saw what he wanted to see, just some nobody in a suit with no title. That's what men like him do. They stop at the surface. And honestly, I was fine with that. Because in a few minutes, when I got asked to give an unplanned speech, I would tell them who I really was. And after that, Roland would look at me differently. His posture, his face, even how he held his wine glass would change. Some people hate surprises. Roland did. He turned pale. And me? I just smiled. They say the hardest part of losing someone is the silence that follows. That's true, but no one talks about the noise that comes first. The phone ringing at a time. It never should. The buzzing in your ears when someone says the words you swore you'd never hear. For me, it was a call from my college advisor. Lucian, there's been an accident. My father was gone. Just like that. One day he was planning a visit to see me and my younger sister Isolda, and the next, I was driving back to a hometown that already felt unfamiliar without him in it. I was 22, worn out from finals. Isolda was 17, 1 week away from graduating. High school. Our mom had left years earlier to chase a new life. So it was just the two of us, orphans, one car, and a future that had collapsed in a moment. The funeral was a blur. What came after was harsh reality. Debt. Lots of it. My dad was self-employed, and somewhere along the line, things had fallen apart. Loans, missed payments, liens on the business. He'd probably tried to protect us from it until the very end. But once his death was made public, the creditors came fast. They took the house, the car, the shop. Everything. All we had left was the small suitcase I'd packed for spring break. My scholarship covered tuition, but rent, groceries, Isolda's school, we were on our own. That night, after the last guest left, I sat on the floor next to Isolda. She was crying, knees pulled into her hoodie. That's when I realized no one else was coming. I was the only adult left in her world. So I made a choice. I would finish school, take any job I could find, and keep us afloat. I worked at the campus cafe, took evening shifts delivering packages, and barely slept 4 hours a night. Some days I went to class still sweating from carrying boxes upstairs, but every dollar mattered. 2 mouths, 2 lives. I lost my girlfriend during that time. She was sweet, but she needed more than missed calls and forgotten dates. I let her go, not because I didn't care, but because I had nothing left to give. People talk about building character like it's a neat process. Mine was shaped by overdraft notices and late buses. It was built when I looked at Isolda and knew she deserved a future, even if I had to burn mine to make it happen. When I graduated, there was no celebration, no parties, no photos, just a quiet sigh and a job offer from a mid-sized firm doing operations. It wasn't flashy, but it paid. We moved into a small 1-bedroom apartment. She took the room. I slept on the couch. She started community college. I worked spreadsheets and took client calls. Every night I made us dinner, even if it was just rice and eggs. On weekends, I caught up on sleep or worked extra shifts. Even then, I never stopped preparing for something better. I took online classes, marketing, automation, tech systems, anything to improve my skills. I didn't know what would come, but I promised myself I'd be ready. Then, on a rainy Thursday, I got a message from Felix Marin, an old classmate. He remembered my instincts for business. He and a friend were building a tech tool to automate back-end systems. They needed someone who could run operations and pitch to clients. It sounded risky, but also exciting. I hadn't felt that in years, so I said yes. My life split in two. From 8 to 5, I wore slacks and answered to managers. From 7 p.m. to 2 a.m., I worked on code, flowcharts, and pitch decks with Felix. We used coffee shops and borrowed server space. Some nights, I passed out with my laptop still open on my chest. Money was tight. We argued. One co-founder quit after 6 tough months, but Felix and I stuck it out, barely. Then came the breakthrough. A corporate client tried our tool and cut their processing time by 40%. They told others. Suddenly, we had demo requests, full inboxes, and too much feedback to keep up with. A review in a major tech blog gave us real traction. But even then, I kept my day job. I'd learned early how fast stability could disappear. I saved every cent, handled support tickets, invoices, and bugs during breaks and late nights. Felix became the public face. He smiled in interviews, gave TEDx talks. I stayed in the background, and I liked it that way. While others chased titles and social media praise, I wanted something else: peace. A life where Isolda didn't have to stress over grocery money. A future not shaped by the pain of our past. She got into a state university on her own merit. I paid every bill. We had savings, insurance, working appliances. That felt like success. No one saw what it took. I didn't need them to. But that choice to stay invisible meant people like Roland Row could meet me and assume I was small. That was okay. I'd rather be overlooked than wrongly praised. But life has a funny way of coming full circle, especially when your little sister decides to get married. It was a Tuesday night when Isolda called. I'd just collapsed on the couch in my work clothes, eating cold leftover pasta straight from the container. She sounded out of breath, excited but also nervous. "Lucian," she said, "I have something to tell you." I thought it was about school, maybe a big project or a new internship. I wasn't ready for her next words. "I'm getting married." I froze, fork in midair. "You're what?" "To Damien," she added quickly, like ripping off a bandage. "We've been serious for a while, but I didn't know how to tell you." I blinked. I had met a Damien once, just briefly, but she had never mentioned anything serious. "Isolda? Married? That's huge. Are you okay?" She laughed softly, a bit nervous. "I'm more than okay. I'm happy. I just needed to tell you before things move ahead. He wants to meet you." That caught my attention. Anyone who wanted to marry my sister better want to meet me too. I wasn't just her brother. I had been everything: her parent, tutor, emergency contact, and friend. If someone wanted to be part of her life now, I needed to see who he really was. We set a dinner for Friday. Nothing formal, just a simple meal. I offered to cook. I still remember opening the door and seeing Damien there, flowers in one hand, a bottle of wine in the other, and a smile that seemed a bit too eager. Something about him felt familiar. We exchanged small talk, sat down and talked. He was polite, well-spoken, and clearly loved my sister. But his last name tugged at something in the back of my mind. "Row?" I repeated aloud, turning it over in my head. "Any chance you're related to Roland Row?" He paused, just for a second too long. "He's my father." And then it all clicked. Roland Row was one of our largest enterprise clients. Not only that, he'd been trying to buy out our software company for months. His emails were filled with subtle offers, like he was doing us a favor just by being interested. He was sharp, cold, always in control. Not evil, just the kind of businessman who saw people as tools, not partners. He was a regular name in industry, blogs, and now I was having dinner with his son. I kept my face neutral, my voice steady. I didn't bring up the company. This moment was about Isolda. If Damien was good to her, I'd find a way to make peace with the rest. Later that night, Isolda pulled me aside in the kitchen. "You went quiet for a while. Everything okay?" I nodded. "Just surprised. You really love him?" "I do," she said. "He's not like his father, Lucian. He's kind. He listens. He's solid." I looked at her closely. She wasn't trying to convince me. She was glowing, and she didn't glow easily. "Okay," I said finally. "Then I'm in your corner." The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Wedding planning took over her life. I helped where I could, but stayed clear of the chaos until the big family meet and greet. It was at an upscale country club, white tablecloths, staff in black vests. Isolda asked me to be there, so I said yes. For her, not for them. That day, I met Roland face to face. As soon as I walked into the room, he spotted me. He gave me a quick once-over, shoes, suit, posture, and then looked away. When we were introduced, he gave me a weak handshake. "Oh, you're just her brother," he said. "I assumed her father would be here." I held his gaze. "Our father passed away a long time ago." He gave the smallest nod and moved on. Later, of course, came the question. "So what do you do?" There it was, that investor nose sniffing for status. "I work in corporate," I said, which was true. In a way, he didn't hide his disinterest, barely reacted. And that was fine. I didn't show up to impress him. But a small voice in the back of my mind whispered, "You'll regret that." That night, I told Felix about the meeting. He laughed. The universe has a strange sense of humor. The weeks passed quickly. The wedding day came. Isolda looked stunning, beautiful. Not just in her dress, but in the way people look when they feel deeply loved. She took my hand just before walking down the aisle and whispered, "Thank you for everything." I just smiled. At the reception, I stayed low-key, chatting with guests, keeping to myself. Then I saw Roland walking over with 2 other men. He walked right past me again, didn't even pause. It was intentional, calculated, and I felt nothing. Just calm, because he still had no idea who I really was. Not yet. I hadn't planned to speak. There was no note in the program, no brother of the bride moment. I'd already played my part, walked Isolda down the aisle, stood tall in the family photos, raised my glass during the toasts. That was enough. I didn't need a microphone, but someone must have added my name to the list. A catering staff member tapped me on the shoulder. "You're up next. 2 minutes." I blinked. "Next for what?" She pointed toward the stage. "Speech. Mics." "Ready?" I could have declined. Maybe I should have. But something in me, a mix of pride, exhaustion, and memory, told me to stand. This was my sister's wedding. The closest thing I'd ever had to a daughter was stepping into a new life, and the room still had no idea who I was. So I buttoned my jacket and walked to the front. "Good evening," I began, voice steady. "My name is Lucian Trent. I'm Isolda's brother." That got their attention. But I wasn't just her brother, I continued. After our father passed suddenly, I became her guardian. I was 22. She was 17. We had no extended family. Our mother had been gone a long time. The room shifted. Forks paused. Glasses lowered. I was still finishing college when it happened. Couldn't afford to fall apart. Not when she needed food. A roof, tuition. So I worked. Day shifts, night shifts, weekends. Slept less than I'd like to admit. I lost friends. I lost someone I loved. I looked at Isolda. She was already crying. "But we made it," I said, quieter now. "She made it because she's brilliant and strong and somehow forgave me for all the times I wasn't enough." There was a hush. Even Roland across the room had finally turned to face me. "I want to say one more thing," I said, lifting my voice, just slightly. During those years, while we were surviving, I also helped build a startup, a software platform. Some of you may even use it. Heads turned. A few guests exchanged glances. My co-founder, Felix, he's over there. We started with borrowed code and secondhand laptops. Today, we serve some of the biggest firms in the country. I let the moment breathe. I don't share that to talk business. I share it because it's part of the story. The story that led me here, to this day, this room, this moment. I turned to face the newlyweds. I'm proud of you, both of you. You found something rare. Trust, joy, partnership, and I'm honored to stand here and say, "You're ready." With that, I stepped away from the mic. As I headed back to my seat, Roland intercepted me, like a shadow stepping out of the wall. He extended a hand. His smile was polite, tight. "Lucian, was it?" That was quite a speech. I shook his hand, firm but not eager. Thank you. You're the co-founder of… Yes, I said. That company you've been trying to acquire. His smile faltered, just for a moment. I had no idea, he admitted. Why didn't you say anything when we met? I held his gaze. Because I wanted you to see who I was. When you thought I was nobody. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. I gave him a small nod. Enjoy the evening, Mr. Row. Then… I walked past him, back to Felix, who raised an eyebrow but said nothing. We clinked glasses. The tension slid off. The rest of the night was warm, joyful. Isolda danced like a woman finally free of old shadows. Damien was gracious. Roland stayed civil. But I saw it in his eyes. Something had shifted. Less arrogance, more calculation. That was fine. Because I hadn't said anything false. And I hadn't said everything either. We never sold the company. To Roland Row, not out of spite, not even because of how he treated me. The truth is, the offers were generous, on paper. But I've learned to read between the numbers. Roland's interest was never about respect. It was about ownership. He assumed everything and everyone had a price. But I don't do business with men who only learn your value after reading your resume. So Felix and I stayed independent. We scaled with intention. We didn't need a buyout. We needed freedom. Ironically, Row Industries still licenses our platform. His employees file support tickets through the same portal as everyone else. We answer fast, always polite, never personal. Strictly business. Damien never brought it up. He respects boundaries. More importantly, he respects Isolda. Over time, we've built something close to trust. I don't hold his last name against him. He's not his father. He never was. Isolda is thriving now, she teaches. Gardens, volunteers on weekends, and she smiles. The kind of smile she never had when we were younger, back when it felt like everything might collapse at any second. That smile is what I fought for. That's the return on my investment. People still assume I'm just the quiet guy in the background, unremarkable, and I let them think that because I know the truth. The people who dismiss you when you're silent are the same ones who scramble to respect you once someone announces your title, but by then, their respect means nothing. True respect shows up when no one's watching. It's not a reaction, it's a choice. Roland's biggest mistake wasn't underestimating me. It was believing that being unseen meant being unimportant, but I've never needed the spotlight. All I needed was to know that my sister would be okay. And now, she is. That's more than enough for me. If this journey taught me anything, it's this. You don't rise by being loud. You rise by standing firm in who you are, quietly, steadily, with dignity, and when people finally notice. Let it be on your terms, not theirs. Because in the end, what matters most isn't who applauds you. It's who you protected while no one was watching.